Welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's time for another episode of this podcast that we're doing every week so far. And welcome back to the show, Angus. Any notes from week 4?
Just a little story for everybody. In one of our leagues, we play against each other. At the last second, I audibled from Khalil Shakir to Jawan Jennings.
You,
That
you fucking.
I didn't think that was going to happen at all. That was insane. I
What
had no idea.
what made it worse is that I had Purdy, Jordan Mason, and Ayuk on my team,
Hmm.
and like 40 extra points
Hmm.
went in your favor. You finished with like almost 50 points from Juwan Jennings' 3 touchdown
Yeah.
game. And anytime like ESPN wanted me to taunt you with a Brock Purdy touchdown, it was like, I can't. He got
It
more
went.
points from the touchdown than I did. I can't do. I can only taunt if it's a Mason or
Uh,
an Ayuk touchdown, and those never happened. So you're getting the win.
yeah.
Congrats.
In that one, you beat me in the Blunt League, though. God, that Cam Akers touchdown pissed me off
Well,
so
technically, I
much.
haven't beaten you yet. You still have
A
Chase
4%
Brown and
chance.
Tyler Bass down 30. But
Hey, again, it's given me a 4% chance to win, and that feels way too
if you
generous.
get
I
like
don't see how
six
that.
field goals from Bass, then maybe. But Bass has been swinging some
Hmm.
kicks. Like he's not a
Hmm.
safe kicker at the moment. So good
Yeah,
luck. But yeah,
I,
thank
I,
you for the win.
hmm
Cam
Yeah, no,
Akers
that'll be good.
helping me. But
Hey, you can't have a Cinder. I'm down 0-3 in the Blunt League so far, and you can't have a Cinderella story without going down.
here, let me pull up our matchup real quick. We'll just show both of them
Let's
just
do
for
it.
the audience to take a peek at. Here is this one's loading on the screen. This is in Blunt where you have
Hmm.
62 points right now. I've got 90.3. All my players are done,
God,
but
the negative Las Vegas defense really screwed me over. I
yeah,
thought that was going to be like a positive 15. So that's a 20-point swing right
I
there.
was so happy about that one, man.
Man,
The negative, like for you to get
thinking about it,
1 point from
yeah.
JSN and the defense combined, while I got
Don't put it like that.
1 point from Jamison Williams and then 14 from the Steelers. That
That
really
was the
helped me.
crazy thing. I kept looking over on your side and thinking like, how am I not winning here? He has Ayuk in single digits. Jamison Williams doesn't have a full
Oh
point.
my God, JMO
How
was terrible.
Nico Collins had a bad game. Like I'm looking at all your players, just thinking, how am I losing this game?
No,
This makes no
I
sense.
had a
I
bad
should have.
week, but I was right. I benched Anthony Richardson. I
Yeah.
started Jared Goff, and that extra 10
Yep.
points is massive. So
Hmm.
Cam Akers
Yeah. Good
touchdown for
job.
the win. However, this is the other. I'll
You
show you the other
deserved it.
matchup where you get to brag. This is just a demolishing. Um, give it 1 second to load.
Jawan
But
Jawan just helped so much, like accounting for a quarter of my total points off that one
44 and a
play is pretty
half
great.
from Juwan Jennings and the Raiders defense combined is
Yeah.
and then you had Rasheed
If
Rice.
if you can't tell, I was really in on the Raiders defense this week.
Yeah, you doubled down.
Which, man.
But Rasheed Rice just blow up game. Singletary with 18.8. That was shocking. When Lamb was
Yeah.
bad, I was like, oh, maybe I have a shot. But as soon as Juwan Jennings scored 2 touchdowns, I was like, no, this is bad. I
I knew I was in a good situation when Singletary scored a touchdown really early on. I was like,
yeah.
okay, we're we're in it.
I had a shot. Mason didn't find the end zone, so that was brutal. Ayuk was just a letdown. Jennings took over, and then Pitts wasn't like atrocious for a tight end. He had that 50-yard catch, but
Mhm.
I really had no shot facing Juwan Jennings. So unless
I
James
mean, it was a
Cook
great,
gives me 100,
yeah.
I'm down by 85 points.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I
congrats.
mean, Purdy gave you such a good game. It all went to the person I had,
Yeah,
like the most annoying fashion.
you
But that's
completely
like an
negated it
amazing game
with
from
Jennings.
Purdy.
But all right. The team I needed to win loses, and the team you
Yeah,
needed to win loses as well. So that's
I would
it
have traded
for
it.
our fantasy matchup. We'll get to some games now.
Mhm.
I guess we should start. Is there a game you like really watch closely and you want to start with? Otherwise, we'll just go with like in order.
The Chargers one was heartbreaking just because everybody got hurt. Like we lost our two tackles, Herbert and Joey Bosa, in one game. So it was very
Yeah.
heart-wrenching for sure because I really felt like we could have won that game and I really liked what this team was doing. If all those people are hurt, Dobbins has to take a hit,
Yeah, for sure.
like for sure. And then of course, like all the receivers, like if it's Easton Stick or sorry, Taylor Heineke, you just can't start
No, they're dead in the
anybody.
water.
This just mhm.
I think they should probably just bench Herbert this week against the Chiefs and just they have the bye the week after. Just get him healthy. Like they're
Yeah,
probably not going to win the game anyways. Like
yeah.
keep
Go into the
some
bye 2-2 or whatever it is,
yeah,
or yeah, 2-2.
2-2. They're going to lose to the Chiefs for sure. So I
Yeah,
just bench him, just get him healthy. You get an extra week.
yeah.
But on the Steelers side of the ball, Fields looked solid. I thought Fields would
Hmm.
be really bad this week. He was pretty solid. How many rushing yards? Only 6 rushing yards, but did have a rushing touchdown.
Hmm.
So he did it through the air. Only like
He turned the ball over, but even then, like
yeah,
they kept going back to him. I don't see how they ever put Russ back in.
no.
I really don't.
Russ has lost his job. But for them to go 3-0, like unless Fields gets hurt, like, you're not going to see Russ
Mhm.
on the on the field at all. So, good for
And so then
him.
if you're Miami, why wouldn't you go like try to get Russ? Like I mean we'll get to Miami eventually, but like you have to do something.
Fair
But
point.
he certainly
Yeah,
isn't going to play there.
it's probably like until it's like clear to Russ that he has no shot to start, he probably won't demand a trade. And given his salary, I doubt the Steelers really want to give him up. Like it's only $1 million that they're
Hmm.
committed. But um, yeah, we'll move on. There's not too much to learn. Like once Herbert went down, it was like, yeah, this game is over. It's clearly
Hmm.
the Steelers who will win. But we'll just go
Steelers
in
running
order.
backs got really hurt. They got really hurt. I guess just kind of see how everyone shapes up with injuries.
Is Warren hurt too?
I thought he was. I know Najee is.
Okay. Keep that in mind for waiver wire purposes. Maybe Cordy P is interesting. But we'll
Hmm.
talk Jets Patriots now, where I mean the Jets defense just looks so good. A spot where they
Hmm.
should, but like better than I expected. I thought the Patriots would at least put up a fight. They didn't do anything. Ramondre had
Yeah.
0.3 fantasy points this week. Just totally terrible.
This
Um
is for sure. I think this game, like the Patriots had a couple frisky games in the beginning, and everyone was like, "Oh, Ramondre, he's actually elite and startable." This is, I think, more emblematic of who they are, and it's
yeah.
why like you probably should have gotten rid of Ramondre before, because this I think is really like if it's just a dog shit offense, he's not going to be able to do anything. So there's no floor.
I lost Pacheco in the subscriber league, and I tried to trade T. Higgins for Ramondre Stevenson, like hoping, like pre-draft value. Higgins was
Yeah.
definitely the guy you wanted, and the team with Ramondre was like laughing, was like no
Hmm.
fucking chance, and now I'm sure
Yeah.
they fucking regret it.
They wish they would have taken that for sure.
So I'm glad it
100%.
didn't go through. I'd be really pissed if I started
Hmm.
Ramondre over Cam Akers this week. But
Yeah.
it looks like there's some life with the Jets offense other than Brees and Garrett Wilson. I think you can trust Braylon Allen like from a solid floor standpoint every week moving forward. Like he'll be in the top
He
40,
yeah.
definitely flex conversation.
He would be like it's hilarious that like if he went to about half the NFL teams, he'd be their starting running back because there are so many places with just dog shit run games, yet the Jets apparently have two starting caliber running backs on their team.
And they've been
That's just great.
drafting a lot of running backs lately. Like even last year, I think they took another one. It was
Hmm.
I'm his name is evading me. Abanaconda.
It doesn't.
Abanaconda is
Yeah,
who I'm
yeah,
thinking of.
yeah.
But their receivers started to get going. Granted, Garrett Wilson wasn't really one of them other than the touchdown. 5 for 33 and a
I will say
touchdown.
Rodgers looked good though. Like he
Yeah.
really did. Whether he could consistently be that good or not, who's to say? But at a minimum, he has an ability to reach into his bag and pull out like a vintage Aaron Rodgers. game. So
Yeah,
that's positive.
I don't totally buy into like a wrecking of the Patriots like that. That's not like super exciting. But the fact that he was mobile, the fact that he was able to get out of the
Yes,
pocket
yes,
and like there
100%.
was one play where he got tackled as he was going out of bounds, but it was still like a totally legal tackle. But
Hmm.
just the fact that he like evaded pass rushers and looked
Yeah.
like he can actually run around is
Hmm.
huge for the
Massive.
confidence of them. So that's great. Conklin had a big game, 5 for 93. Finally showed up. I'm happy
Hmm.
about that because I drafted Conklin so much in the summer. But
Yeah.
tight end's just such a wash after like the eighth guy. You can probably start Conklin moving forward if this continues.
For sure, especially with the injuries, and tight end in general is just kind of a wasteland. Other
Yeah,
than like even Bowers had a horrible
yeah,
game. McBride now has a concussion. Laporta has a sprained ankle. The list goes on, where it's just like, good God. And that's why like it's hard to be so down on Kyle Pitts. I know I'm jumping around, but it's like who who else is there?
yeah.
Like who is this? Like that's why like I don't know. The tight end is so bad this year that it's like who are you mad that you should have taken?
Yeah, imagine having Kelsey right now. Like you could legitimately start Conklin over him if you
For
really wanted to.
sure.
But Lazard and Mike Williams seem to be evening out, and over time Garrett
Mhm.
Wilson will be fine. But for now, his connection isn't like that good. I'm not like really impressed with what we've seen from Garrett Wilson so far. He's been more disappointing than impressive.
He's made a lot of mistakes. It's wild to me that like he and Rogers had two off seasons now where they were supposedly developing
Right.
a connection, and it just doesn't look there. And I don't know if it's because Rogers decided not to play in the preseason or anything like that, but they look like this is their first time. It looks like this is their first time ever playing football together.
I'm sure the way the defenses are like trying to stop him, like, it's been so obviously him and no one else up to this point. Now maybe they have to give him
Hmm.
a little more leeway and a focus on like
Hmm.
Lazard and Mike Williams and maybe even Conklin, who knows, but
Hmm.
um inevitably I think it will figure itself out. We can probably move
Hmm.
on unless there's anything else you thought of.
No, so I think they're the only team that had two first round players, or like one of the few teams that had two first round fantasy players. So far, Brees, I think for sure was worth a top three pick. Remains to be seen with Garrett Wilson. I'd still like hold him just
Yeah.
because, I think it could get better.
As of today, you'd probably rather have Marvin Harrison Jr., but after week one, that wasn't the case, so it'll probably pivot back in favor of Wilson inevitably.
Yeah, I wouldn't make that trade for sure. But I get the logic behind it.
Giants Browns, ugly, ugly game, but Giants tough it
Mhm.
out. Daniel Jones looks decent, but it's just Malik Neighbors, man. Holy
Uh,
shit, he looks so good.
That's someone like that was a preseason take I had. I just wish I followed through on it in one of the leagues I had, and
You were
I
much higher
didn't.
on him than I was.
But man, yeah, he looks so good. I think he has like a north of a 30% target share, whatever it is, and the next closest person is down in the 20s. So he's just absolutely dominating every target, and he looks good while doing it.
He's had
Like,
30
man,
targets the last two games, and like
no, he's insane.
for some reason they didn't put Denzel Ward on him the entire matchup. Like it took him until like after halftime to like have Ward shadow Neighbors, and it's like, really?
Hmm.
Why wouldn't you do that sooner? Like, are you
Yeah,
who the fuck else are you putting Ward on
100%.
that helps you? That's was so stupid. But Singletary is showing up. Singletary's a good fantasy option.
For sure, especially where you drafted him.
Yeah,
I wish he would stop fumbling because I wouldn't
right.
want him to lose work because of the fumbles. But yeah, coaches love Devin Singletary. That's what I learned from the Giants Hard Knocks thing. That's what I learned from Houston. Coaches just I think he's great.
Meanwhile, Deshaun loses two fumbles. Um, that's really ugly.
Yeah, before I thought maybe Daniel Jones was one of the worst quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson might be the worst quarterback. After now that Bryce Young is benched, he looks horrible.
Yeah.
I think if the Browns like cut him today, I don't know if another team would be like, "Hey, we'll give you a shot." Like he looks that bad.
He got sacked 8 times. Like, how do you recover from that? The,
I could see him getting benched though. Like if
oh
the
yeah,
Bryce Young benching taught us anything, it's that teams after a while are just like, fuck this. Like we put a lot of capital or money into you. We don't care. Like you're that bad. We need to get you out of here.
if they lose to the Raiders this week, I think it's definitely in the conversation of just doing it uh, before Week 5 starts. But yeah, nothing to be excited about with Deshaun. Amari Cooper did get banged up in this game, but did have 12 targets, caught 7 for 86, 2 touchdowns. He was the only bright spot for them in a
Hmm.
team that, like, I don't think you can start anyone until Njoku comes back other than Amari, who might not even be healthy next week. Like, Jerome Ford is
Yeah.
not a safe play. Um,
He's just not that, like at the end of the day, he's not good, is the thing. Like I don't think he's all that good to like have a workhorse role, and the offense isn't going to go to a lot of trips in the red zone. Um, like I traded in another league Jerome Ford for Javante Williams for Drake London when Drake London was bad, and I'm super glad I did that.
yeah, Jerome Ford just doesn't feel like a player that really helps you move the needle. Like, just hoping for a touchdown, and that's kind of the case with like a bunch of other guys. So not
Hmm.
ideal. I think other than Amari Cooper, can't feel good about any Browns. Let's talk about
Hmm.
another game, probably one that's more interesting. Packers Titans. Malik Willis
Yeah,
just owning his former team, and
that good for him.
yeah,
Really, really good for him. For sure, Matt LaFleur is making a great case to be coach of the year.
oh
If
my
he could
god, just
coach
a
Malik
master class.
Willis, ah, my God. No, it's cool to see for sure. It's definitely making me higher on the Packers, seeing that kind of X factor element of it all. Yeah, that they should be a pretty good team this year.
And interesting that they didn't do it with like Josh Jacobs leading the charge. It was mostly like Emmanuel Wilson who had
Does
more
that
rushing
make you nervous for
yards.
Jacobs at all?
Huh?
Does that make you nervous for Jacobs at all?
A little bit, but partly like I do think the Titans defense is kind of legit. Granted they
Hmm.
gave up 30 points here. It probably doesn't look like that way, but I feel like it was so obvious like after last week you gave 32 carries to Jacobs, like we're going to try and
Hmm.
stop him, and that was definitely what they accomplished. But
Hmm.
once you kind of have somebody else rolling and you also lead by a wide margin early in the game, you know, it, I feel like it's just riding the hot hand, and Wilson
Yeah.
really, really played well. So I'm not reading too much into it. I'm not putting him
Hmm.
like top 5, but I don't think I'd move off of him as top 12.
When do we see Mason Rudolph for the Titans? I think that's coming up pretty soon because
Yeah,
the coach hates Will Levis. Like
understandably.
he like will have this face on the sideline that they'll show after Levis turns it over on downs or whatever, does something insane, and he's just like so angry that this is his quarterback.
It makes sense. Like another 3 turnovers, like he's just coughing up the game any chance he gets. And like, have you seen
Mhm.
those freeze frames of Will Levis the first three
Oh
weeks,
yeah.
where it's like, how the fuck do you get into this position? And this one, he's like completely pancaked by one of the defensive
Yeah.
linemen of the Packers. Like, yeah, he's so bad. Uh, That
Yeah.
Mayo commercial is just like further like burying him as like someone who makes terrible decisions.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I love that that is just persisted. I don't even know if it like I remember some people were like it's not he didn't even say it or like it's not even a real thing. It's just that's just how he's known now and it's awesome. I mean I keep saying it.
Well, of all quarterbacks, like probably having the one with a sex tape, that's probably like one of
Hmm.
his biggest claim to fame. Is probably a recipe for disaster. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see when Jordan Love comes back. I think that game against the Vikings this week and the Packers is going to be really interesting. And I actually think the Titans have a chance to beat the Dolphins, given the Dolphins quarterback situation. But
Hmm.
yeah, we'll see what happens. DeAndre Hopkins, nice to see him do something. He'd been like inert the first two games,
Yeah.
but Christian Watson stepped up. Jaden Reed looked decent, and
Hmm.
yeah, just more of the same. Packers are fantastic. Titans atrocious. But maybe we
Yeah.
can move on to another game, unless there's anything.
No, I had hopes for Tony Pollard for sure. But it seems like there's still just going to be a split between the two, and you're not going to be able to start any of them. So,
Yeah,
I don't think you could start any Titan with confidence. Same thing with Ridley. There's just like the floor is in hell.
as,
There's
as soon as you think you can trust Ridley, no, not a chance.
Mm-mm.
Texans versus Vikings. This was a
Uh,
fantastic performance
I got
by
the
Sam Darnold.
Vikings so wrong. I remember texting you in the preseason that the Vikings could go 0-5 and that they'd shut down Jefferson, and that was a worry of mine. I'll take the L on that. My God, they look amazing. And it's not just their offense, it's the defense.
Yeah,
The Vikings have like a top five defense, it seems. They're just shutting people down. Yeah, it's so cool watching this team.
I think the home field advantage is like a major factor as well. Like that's a really tough environment to play in. Like there's almost I feel like it maxes out at like 5% fans of the
Mhm.
opponent. Like everyone in that stadium is so invested in the Vikings winning. It's such a tough environment. But Darnold with 4 touchdowns, like I've been
Mhm.
someone who's been on the Darnold train since March. As soon as he signed, I was like,
Mhm.
this is his shot. He has a chance. You got to be taking flyers on him in drafts. I did not think he'd be this good. This is
Yeah.
like insanely impressive. Almost like a perfect passer rating as well. Like it's
Mhm.
very very impressive from Darnold. And then even Aaron Jones, like you're worried about his health a little bit long term, but so far he's looked really good.
He's looked great thus far for sure.
And then obviously Jefferson's a nightmare every week. Naylor steps up, and then another touchdown from Johnny Munt. Just think about how good
Hmm.
this team will be when like they have T.J. Hawkinson and Jordan Addison like fully
Hmm.
healthy. Like that's scary. They're
I
like
do
a
think
lock for the playoffs.
if we were redrafting today, who's your 101?
Who's my 101?
Hmm.
Are you saying it would be Jefferson?
I think he has to at least be the wide receiver one.
He's in the consideration for it. I don't know if I think I'd still go Lamb. Um,
Yeah, I mean he
but
just looks so good. He still it's his comment where he's like respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson. Like they are double teaming this guy and he's still getting open. Like he's very good. I didn't really appreciate how good he was, I guess, but he's clearly probably the best receiver in the league.
he's probably the
And has
safest
yeah.
pick in the top three. And sometimes I remember getting him on underdog sometimes as late as like pick 9. Like
Oh yeah. Yeah,
people
yeah.
were very worried about
Insane.
Darnold coming into the year, and any of those concerns are gone. Are
Hmm.
you at all
Oh yeah.
worried about the Texans without Joe Mixon? Like,
Yeah.
do you really just trust the Vikings defense, or is it the fact that they didn't have Mixon that they were kind of more one dimensional in terms of like game script at least? I know they have 3 wide receivers to throw to, but they only had 14 rush attempts in this game. 3 of them were from Stroud, so they got nothing
Hmm.
on the ground.
I think it was just a very bad game. Stroud didn't really he kept getting kind of overwhelmed by the Vikings D, and then yeah, they couldn't establish the run at all. I don't know. Like I'm tempted to say I'm not super concerned about this game. I hope that there isn't like a thing that defensive coordinators are able to look at from this game and say, oh, the Vikings did this and this is how we beat them. I'm not skilled enough to notice that. But if that is the case, then that's a little concerning for the Texans. But still, I think if you have Nico, you're still starting him. He's still great. I still think Stroud is a very good quarterback. So hopefully they can get it together next week.
Yeah, I'm not going to hit
I
the
think it was the
panic button.
penalties. The penalties really fucked him.
I wouldn't hit the panic button for sure, but I do think the run game is a legitimate red flag. Like
Mhm.
if you have to trust Akers every week, you're just not getting a reliable production out of the backfield.
Yeah.
So, um, I'd be kind of worried about them in the short term if Mixon misses like several weeks. I think they could lose more games. But Vikings just deserve so much credit. Really impressive all across the board. Who do you have
Hmm.
next week? Vikings or Packers in Green Bay? Let's
It's
say
gonna be a really good
let's say
game.
Jordan Love plays. Let's assume Love is going to play.
God, the Vikings have just been so good. Like, I don't know, man. I'm leaning Vikings now.
I took the Vikings.
Yeah,
Even
I'm
if
leaning
Love plays, I
Vikings.
think the Vikings because they lost like
Yeah,
33-10 last year in the last time those two teams played. And
yeah.
my only concern would be like maybe Jair locks up Jefferson as he has in the past, but they have Aaron Jones in a revenge spot and
Hmm.
a defense that's humming. I favor the Vikings.
Yeah, I get it.
But we'll move on to what's the next one? Eagles Saints. Was this a shocking game or was it kind of
This
like
was
confirming
the
your original
worst game I've
beliefs?
ever watched. Like, it was 3-0, like at halftime,
Through
basically.
the
Like,
third
what
quarter,
the
it was 3 to
fuck?
nothing. And only until the fourth quarter, the Eagles put up 15 in the fourth. Two
Yeah,
touchdowns from Saquon
Hurts
and a 2-point conversion.
from a real life NFL standpoint, I wouldn't be confident with Hurts. Like, he turns the ball over so much.
Yeah. Um
Um, Yeah, Saints kind of came down to earth, but they did. I think like they lost their starting center on the opening drive, something like that, and they had another offensive line injury happen pretty early. And then the Eagles' pass rush was basically able to just kind of get back there and mess everything up. So I think that really messed with the Saints' game plan for sure. I mean, while they looked a lot more competent in the first two games.
I had multiple games going on at the same time, and once like it hit halftime and this game was 3 to nothing, I kind of like really buried it in my like scope of
Hmm.
vision. But I know Devonte Smith exited with he's in the concussion
Hmm.
protocol. Maybe that
Hmm.
is why Goddard went off so good, but like
I think so.
Goddard
Yeah.
was phenomenal. Like if they don't have
I mean,
AJ Brown or
if
Devonte Smith, is Goddard like a top 2 tight end?
he probably has to be tight end one, I would probably put him there just because because there's a chance Trey McBride doesn't play because he'll be in the concussion protocol, and then situationally, I would say yeah, he's probably going to be the best.
Yeah.
I'd be nervous. Like you're probably still going to start Hurts as your quarterback if you drafted him, but you got to be nervous about that if all he has is Goddard, and the
Yeah.
turnovers.
If that's all they have, I think they lose to the Bucs next week. But
Hmm.
really impressive win. I didn't think the Eagles would get it done, but the Saints just got shut down. And usually you don't like
Hmm.
trust the Eagles defense that much, but they looked really good. Like
Hmm.
Saints averaged 45 points per game coming into this one, held to 12. That that's something to pay attention to. Are you worried at all about Shaheed given he put up a bagel, or is this just what he offers, like the risk of boom bust appeal?
Yeah, I think this is what he is. Like he is out there running a lot of routes, and he is a boom bust player who can go off and win you your week. He can also put up a bagel, and if you're putting him in your lineup, you understand, hey, you're kind of forfeiting some floor for some ceiling, or maybe that's just the best player you have available, or you got him off the waiver wire. So yeah, I guess just understand this is kind of who he is.
He was the
But
most
there's
like
still some.
he was the most coveted piece off the waiver wire this week.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
was
no,
in two
people spent a
leagues where
lot
people
of money on
yeah, people
a
bid
ton of
like
money.
$40 on him in one of my leagues, and to
I
show up
I
with a
spent
bagel is rough.
20, I think I bid like 25 on him, thinking maybe that'll do it, and someone almost double outbid me. So all right, like go for it.
Sometimes it pays off to get the cheap options and not overspend on the fab
For
waiver
sure.
waiver system. But I wouldn't be like totally bearing him, just acknowledging like, yeah, this is the risk that comes with him.
Mhm.
Olave with a touchdown, caught all 6 targets, but the offense just wasn't really
Yeah,
that good, so
for
didn't
sure.
blow up.
I'm still pretty high on Olave rest of season, just because like it's all there, and I do think that the offense is going to still be pretty good. It was just a weird week, and again, hopefully their line is healthy and it isn't serious injuries. But because yeah, then that would be a little rough.
Yeah, definitely would still try to acquire Olave if I
Mhm.
can. Another game to talk about would be we spoke Chargers Steelers already. The Bucs
Mhm.
and the Broncos. Wow. Broncos
That was a surprise for
really showed up.
sure.
That was the biggest
Real
upset
surprise.
in the polls on the channel. There was only
100%.
4% of people that chose Denver.
And I'm sure that was a joke. Like, I don't
Right.
think they actually believed it was Denver. I think it was just someone wanting to be a contrarian and just be like,
Yeah, you click the Bucks and then you see the percentage. You're like, oh, okay, I'll
yeah,
shift over. But yeah, Bo Nix,
100%.
no turnovers, looked solid. I mean, Sutton bounced back.
Hmm.
Um, Tyler Beatty was the running back you wanted in this game, 9 for 70 on the ground, which completely buries Javante's value. Like,
I think, yeah, this was like the dream scenario for Javante. I just don't think he's even startable. I
he
was high on him going into the season.
he had
I
four
wouldn't start
catches
him.
in this game, but a total 41 yards. And if you're not in like full PPR, he's basically droppable. Just a
Hmm.
terrible, terrible fantasy player. Bo Nix with another rushing touchdown. Jaleel McLaughlin had a rushing touchdown, but was really not involved in general. Other than that, yeah, just the Bucks didn't show up, didn't respect the opponent. I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah. No, not a lot to take away. They just didn't really show up. You could still be pretty confident in Baker, Godwin, and Evans going forward. The big one,
I was
I
actually
think Bucky Irving is just going to take more and more of a role from Rashad White. I don't think he's going away.
he's too efficient. I don't think they can bench
Yeah.
him. I I would if I was running the team, I would make Bucky Irving like an 80% rush attempt guy
Mhm.
and then just only use Rashad in the passing game. Like I
Yeah.
don't see any value for Rashad in the run game at all. 6 for 17. The
Yeah.
fuck are you
He
getting?
like for sure. So I think if you drafted Rashad White to be what he was last year, you're just going to be pretty disappointed for sure.
Yeah. I honestly am a little bit worried about Mike Evans moving forward. Like
Mm.
I know he had Sertan this week, but Sertan has been bad. Sertan has
Hmm.
not been good. And Evans had 3 targets in a game where they were down 14 in the first quarter. Like maybe the defense was just that good and like Baker
Hmm.
actually sucks. Like he got Washington and Detroit the first 2 weeks. Like maybe that's all it was. But I'd be legitimately concerned about Evans because Godwin has clearly overtaken him. Godwin had 9 targets in
Hmm.
this game. And it's the second straight week where Evans is like a big letdown. I think Evans is like a
Hmm.
legitimate bench consideration. Without a touchdown, I wouldn't feel confident with Evans' output for fantasy every week.
Hmm.
I'd be trying to
Yeah.
sell Evans if I could.
If you can convince somebody that this was just an off game and normally he's going to be pretty good, he's a pretty solid person to pivot off of for sure.
Yeah, definitely scary. Sutton kind of revives his fantasy appeal. 11 targets again,
I
so
It's
hard to
fine, but like
trust,
I
but
just don't
like
think
I
I
thought
don't
he
think
could
you're
drop
going to get
him
any
before this game.
consistency.
I was like, maybe Josh Reynolds is the guy you'd rather have. Now it's like, okay, no, you clearly want Sutton.
No.
Moving on though, the Panthers beat the Raiders 36-22.
Just after I dropped Deontay Johnson in a PPR league, he
Oh
fucking
God,
goes off and does that.
what a decision!
No, I know. I still don't know if he's going to be all that great going forward, but man, that sucked
Well,
for
Thielen
sure.
is hurt, so I think this volume is going to
Yeah,
continue. Maybe
for
not
sure.
14 targets, but holy shit, you definitely trust him with Dalton at quarterback.
Yep.
8 for
Yeah,
122 and a touchdown. Deontay went off.
yeah.
I think the story of the game though is Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, I know. He looked really good. Like again, I also had him in a league and dropped him at some point because I didn't think that they were going to drop Bryce Young. I was like,
Yeah.
well, fuck, man, like this is just awful. Time to bounce and just absolutely pivot to something else.
Hubbard, I understand given the Brooks,
Hmm.
incoming situation, but Deontay, that that one feels rough to pass on. But
I picked up Braylon Allen. I dropped Deontay to pick up Braylon Allen because I
okay.
thought, oh shit, there's at least points to be had there.
Now I'm sure. Did anyone pick up Deontay in that league?
Oh yeah, right away for
Okay.
sure.
I was gonna say he's like $100 fab guy, but Chuba Hubbard had 21 carries, 114 rushing yards, also 5 catches, 55
Hmm.
rushing yards, and a receiving touchdown. Chuba Hubbard looked fantastic, and I don't know if you're like, you know, not willing to sell high on Chuba because on Hubbard because of Jonathan Brooks returning soon. But this
Mhm.
makes me really confident about Brooks when he does get on the field. Like it might be more of a
Especially for
committee,
playoffs.
but
Yeah.
so much upside if this offense is legit.
Yeah, especially for the fantasy playoffs, you could have a real difference maker for sure,
Are
which
you
is why we're taking him.
right? Are you picking up Dalton at all? Are you considering him on the way? Like if you need quarterback,
I mean, good God, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'd want to see it one more week.
yeah,
There's a chance this was like the Raiders underestimated them. I still think they're a bad team. I don't think
probably.
magically they're now a great team. So I feel like there's going to be kind of a comeback to earth sort of game
Even
in the
though
very near future.
even though Dalton has a revenge game against the Bengals.
I hear it. I hear that. I'm still just like, all right, I don't think you're actually a good team. I don't think
Yeah.
magically all of your problems got fixed
They're not
just
going to
because,
score 36 every week. Like maybe
yeah.
they squeak it by with like 27 randomly,
And plus,
but
the Raiders' offense is absolute dog shit. So, like, I don't think the Raiders are a good offense. So, if they're going to go up against a good offense who will hang points on their bad defense, it's like, all right, then maybe the offense isn't so motivated.
yeah.
Anywho,
If you have Zamir White, you have to be so livid that not only is he like just garbage, but
yeah.
every single week Alexander Madison is vulturing the like only touchdown that
To
would
a point where
save
the head
him.
coach, where the Antonio Pierce has to like comment on it, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I mean, it's not a big deal. Don't read anything into it." But it's like, but then why does it keep happening?
I'd
Why?
be
Why?
I'd be so panicked if I have Zamir. I would never start him. And this was the spot. The Panthers' run defense was like atrociously bad going into this game, and he gives you
Oh
10
yeah,
for 34.
I wanted to try and pick him up in one of our leagues to play him as my RB2, thinking, oh, maybe this could be good, but I only put a few dollars down, and I'm glad I didn't get him. Holy shit.
Same. Yeah,
My God.
terrible, terrible outlook from
You,
Zamir.
like it's such a weird thing. Like I guess if you're in like a 12 team league and you want to keep him on your bench in hopes that like somehow something happens, I guess go for it. But like you can't be excited, and I can't picture any scenario unless it's like a buy-mageddon thing where you're starting him
No,
and hoping for 5 points.
he's god awful. Adams and Bowers were kind of limited in this one. Trey Tucker and Jacoby
And
Myers had good
and
games.
Minshew got benched.
Yeah, Minshew was benched. Do you think he comes back, or do you think they're just gonna pivot to O'Connell until they bench him?
I think I'm gonna guess they bring Minshew back, and then like
Probably.
I think he'll probably be on like a short leash. I still think Bowers is a top two tight end, personally. Like I know
Okay.
this was a weird game for sure, but I don't know. I still kind of have that vibe about him. Definitely.
Yeah, weird team. Raiders are just so random and hard to trust. Like they beat the
Yeah,
Ravens, and then they get
yeah.
like almost blown
Boat
out
race. Yeah,
by the Panthers. That they were like trailing almost 36-7 in this
such a
game. Like
weird team.
yeah,
Such a weird team.
very strange game. More of a fluke than like something I'm actually like buying into. But
Yeah,
The Raiders are bad.
yeah,
Raiders
100%.
suck.
They're like a top bottom five offense. The Panthers are a bottom five offense. So it's kind of hard to take anything away when two horrible teams play each other
Yeah.
and one of them is good against the other. It's like, okay, play a real team and then let's see
With
if you
all
could
the
put.
emotion of that team, like just once
Yeah.
someone like Bryce Young, a first overall pick, gets benched, it's like, well, who else are they going to cut? You know what I mean? Like my job is on the line, even if
Yeah.
they just paid me 20 mil per season. Like
Yeah.
everyone is like, no, everyone's motivated to be like, it was just Bryce Young. It was just Bryce Young. It's not me.
100%.
We're tired of losing, and here we are
100%.
putting up
Yeah.
36
I think
points.
it was definitely, I think, benching Bryce like a message to kind of other people like, hey, you get your shit together or else.
Yeah, but good for them. Good for them.
Good for them.
The
It might be their only win this season.
they'll win a few more. I don't think they'll go 1-16.
I
Uh,
still think they're playing for the number one overall pick again, but that's just me.
maybe. We'll find out. The
Mhm.
Dolphins, though, were just absolutely atrocious against the Seahawks. I mean, once Thompson
Yeah.
had the rib injury, you know for sure it was nail in the coffin. But they were terrible before that happened. Like Tyreek loses all
I
value.
mean,
Waddle loses all
uh,
value. Even A Chain. all value completely
I think
lost.
you could still start Achan
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
have
'Cause
to.
he has like a PPR. He got like 3 catches. That's a solid floor for a running back.
I don't think I can
Uh,
rank him top
he-
10 anymore though.
no, but like you're still starting him just because it's hard to come up with a short list of people you'd rather put ahead of him.
Yeah.
Kind of same with Tyreek because you took him with such a high pick, but it's like, man, he might be a massive bust this year. Where it's like, okay, that was an incorrect pick. Waddle. But yeah, unstartable. Like you can't put him out there at all. They have to like go get Ryan Tannehill or trade for Russ. They have to do something. Or they can't just like let this season be a wash. They're
Yeah.
built to like win now, so they kind of need to go get someone. I don't think Tyler Huntley is the answer.
No.
He might be more dynamic, but he certainly isn't going to get the ball to these people.
So I assume you're
Yeah.
taking the Titans to win against Miami next week.
Will Levis is just so bad. I think that could just be an awful game. I
Oh, it'll
really
be
think.
like 15 to 13. A ton of field
Yeah,
goals. But
I guess I'll take the Titans. Miami looked so heartbroken, and their defense looked bad. It just looked like the team's entire like soul got sucked out. So
yeah,
man,
I would have no
they have
confidence.
to do
I
something.
mean, the Seahawks are very good. They did have to travel all the way across country, but oh my God, they just looked so inept.
Yeah, yeah.
Seahawks were up 17-3 in the first quarter, so it was over immediately.
For sure. We're on the Seahawks side of things. I'm not nervous about Ken Walker, but like Charbonnet has looked so good in these past 2 games that it's kind of hard to think that when Walker comes back, they're going to be like, all right, and the Walker show again.
Right. They
That's my
definitely can slow play it
concern.
with the return of Walker, and even when he does get back on the field, it's kind of like, okay, well, we'll give you a snap count just to make
Yeah.
sure you don't like push it too much. But yeah,
hmm
Charbonnet is very legit. Definitely has earned a role.
hmm
Um, Probably still going to be more of a pass catcher than like dominant in the run game. He's not like
Yeah.
hyper efficient. Like 18 for 91 is solid. It's not bad, but
hmm
it's like
Yeah.
four
It's
and a
not
half
jumping
yards per carry.
at
Like
you.
it's nothing like insanely exceptional. Like he's fine.
hmm
He's getting the job done, but he's more of a
Yeah.
pass catcher. The touchdowns are really helping him as well.
A quick comment on the Seahawks and like the Chicago Bears, who we'll get to. I do like I'm a believer in Caleb, and yeah, Caleb's making a lot of mistakes. But if you look at Geno Smith, he breaks out in Seattle, has an amazing year where we're like, oh my God, Geno Smith, he did so good. Then they bring in Shane Waldron, and we see Geno Smith and JSN really underperform. Like JSN, awful in fantasy his rookie year. Geno really takes a step back. Now Shane Waldron's gone and is in Chicago, and Geno looks great again. So I'm inclined to think there's a little bit of correlation there. And JSN looks better than he did for sure. He didn't have a great stat line today, but I also don't think this was a real football game. I don't think at any point Seattle was like, we're losing this game
No,
or we're in danger of losing this game. So it's
Gino
hard to
did
take.
throw. Yeah, not too many takeaways. Gino did throw 2 picks, but I'm not like panicking on JSN. Lockett did get 8 targets. That was weird. But Metcalf
Mhm.
was dominant, 71-yard touchdown. JSN just didn't need to contribute like
I,
to really to win.
again, games like this, it's just like we didn't we they never once felt like they were going to lose the game. So it's like,
No.
all right, let's just go home. Let's just call it. So
But really good test next week. Seahawks versus Lions. Who you got?
the Lions' run defense seems legit. So I'm a little nervous with that. I think if it like I'm loving Seattle's pass attack though. I'm going to take the Seahawks.
I took the Seahawks too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Seahawks to upset the Lions because I'm sure the Lions are favored.
They're favored, but also their offense has not looked like properly
Yeah.
co- connected. Like there's something
I think,
off
yeah.
about the Lions offense right now. They're not
Seahawks, I think, will win.
right.
And then this will be kind of the game where everyone's like, oh, Seattle looks like a playoff team. And the Niners have had some bad losses. Maybe the Seattle challenge for the division.
Honestly, I think the Seahawks at this point could win the division. Like I would have never said that a month ago, but they've
Mhm.
really played well. I know they haven't really beaten anyone like legit so far, like Denver
Yeah.
in the debut, the Patriots, and now Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle and the Dolphins. Like it's hard to totally buy in, but overall, they're showing me everything like I want to see.
Mhm.
And given the Niners are just dropping 2 games right out the gate, the Rams are not like, super healthy, not
Yeah.
really confident in them at the moment. I think the Seahawks have a legit shot to be
Mhm.
the winner of the division. At
100%.
least a playoff team. I could
Mhm.
see 3 teams from the NFC West, and honestly, I don't know who the
Yeah.
third one. Like the third one could be the Rams. It could also be the Cardinals.
Yeah, for
This
sure.
division's really tight. It's just a
Yeah.
question of when will Puka and Cup get healthy, and that O line was
Yeah.
last week a fluke for the Rams, but really competitive
Mhm.
division, really interesting.
Yeah. Exciting stuff for sure.
Um, Now we'll pivot to another game. We only have a few left. We kind of breeze through this.
Mhm.
The Ravens versus Cowboys, real good game, but I feel
The
like
Ravens had to win.
all the stats of the Cowboys were kind of just like hollow.
The Ravens really needed to win because it's all the statistics where it's like if you're a team that goes down 0-3,
Yeah,
you're basically not going to make the playoffs. So the
right.
Ravens really needed to win it. I think the Cowboys knew they didn't really need to win this game, because the Cowboys division games are so much easier than the Ravens division games. And that's I think why the Ravens were like, yo, we got to win this game because we have a lot harder games coming up.
Out the gate, the urgency was like very obviously
Hmm.
heavily weighted in favor of the Ravens. So Cowboys kind of slept a little bit in the first half. They were amazing in the fourth quarter, 19 points in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter, but when you're down 28-6, it's kind of like
Mhm.
meaningless. They did not catch up
I
enough.
do think Lamb holding out, like as a Lamb owner in many leagues, I do think it kind of like and with these players that did hold out, I think it kind of shows maybe a little bit. Maybe they're not fully in their stride.
Definitely shows with Ayuk. Lamb hasn't been like fantastic, but he was kind of really slow in the beginning of last year as well. And then
True.
after the bye, it was like, holy shit, you're getting 25 fantasy points a game from CD
Yeah.
Lamb. So I don't like worry
Hmm.
about him. I think he'll be fine. Obviously he's the only guy you have to like try to take away. But now
Hmm.
Ferguson is a legit piece to take
I
away
think he's a
too.
top five tight end for sure. Like he's definitely a top five tight end
With the
rest of the season.
state of the position,
Yeah.
there are very few tight ends you actually feel confident in. And like the situation with Goddard, where he can vault into the
Yeah.
top two, if not first, that's a temporary situation because of
Yeah.
the injuries to his receivers. That's not the case with Ferguson. If anything, Ferguson is
Mhm.
not 100% healthy, and yet he still had 11 targets this week. You have to be like really
Yeah.
excited with Ferguson. So
Yeah, that was a
I'm
preseason call you had being very high on Ferguson, and that was very right. So good job on that.
Thank you. I appreciate the kudos on that one. Um, I think it's starting to pivot in favor of Rico Dowdle a little bit, but part of
I
it
think
is
so
like game
too.
script as well.
What would it take for you to start Rico Dowdle with confidence? Like
Him to get,
what would a game have to look like for you to be like, okay, and next week he's in my lineup?
well, I believe it's the second week in a row he had 5 targets. I know he caught 3 for 24. That's really encouraging. But I think if we see 2 straight games where Rico has 12 carries, 5 targets, I think that's the point where I'm like, okay, he's a weekly flex play because the touchdowns will come inevitably. Like someone has to
Mhm.
score a touchdown sooner or later. But
Mhm.
Zeke relegated to 3 carries. Zeke only had 2 targets. So overall, you got 13 plays designed for Dowdle and only 5 in favor of Zeke. So I think you can't start either of them still, but there's no chance I'm starting Zeke. And I'm actually like, hopeful that the breakout game for Dowdle is coming soon where
Mhm.
like in the subscriber league, I have Akers as my RB2 with no Pacheco, and I'm like desperate for running back depth. If Mixon starts next week, I'll probably have to go Dowdle, and I don't feel
Yeah.
like terrible about it, but I don't expect more than 10 points.
Yeah.
That's where I still don't trust him. I really don't think he goes over 10 points, but once he starts to get like 15 plus touches per game, that's when I'm like, all right, he's going to be definitely ranked top 30 and in a good
Yeah.
matchup, he might be even like top 22.
Yeah.
But at least where this backfield is trending.
Yeah.
That's what I'm optimistic about.
1 second. I have to stop. Something
No
that's
problem.
happening. Hey, sorry. You can't do that. You mustn't do that. All right. Sorry about that. I just had to stop her from eating this piece of plastic.
No, no problem at all. I can edit it. Um, on the flip side, though, are you like fully invested in Derrick Henry? Are you trusting Derrick Henry right now, or
I think this is the game environment you have to have for Derrick Henry to do well, which is that they're playing with a lead.
yeah?
They're in control of the game. And yeah, so like these are the Derrick Henry games that you want. But games where they're not playing with this kind of lead, I don't think this is what you could expect out of him,
I
is the
wouldn't
thing.
trust him at this rate. Like this was
Mhm.
one of the best games of his season, and as you
Mhm.
look into the numbers, the Cowboys' run defense is awful. Like
Yeah.
we know Alvin Kamara exploded it on them 2 weeks ago, and then in week one,
Mhm.
even Jerome Ford had like a solid game. Granted, a lot of that was in the
Mhm.
passing game, but through 3 games, they have been like the most leaky run defense you can find.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a really good matchup to chase after. The Cowboys
Mhm.
get the Giants on the road next week. I think on Thursday
Mhm.
night you are firing up Devin Singletary in this
For
matchup.
sure. God, R.I.P. Mark Andrews, man. Like what a bummer to anyone who drafted him. I don't know
Bagel.
how that gets better. Like you got to hold him. Like you can't trade him for anything. I wouldn't drop him just because of the state of the position. Like all you can do is just hold him and hope that like weeks from now it gets a little better. But I would feel pretty bleak about it for sure.
I wouldn't like completely write him off as like he's never gonna be okay because Lamar only threw it 15 times in this game. However, it's definitely
Yeah.
a panic mode that like they can win this way,
No, for
and
sure.
they don't
It's
need
a
him to be
it's you have
a
to
factor.
in the preseason I thought he was in the elite tight end group.
Right.
Now he's just clearly not.
No.
It's like, oh no, you're rosterable, but you can easily. I mean, I'd probably do Conklin over him.
Wow. That
You
that
know what I
far.
mean? Like, I mean, but I'd hold like you could hold Mark Andrews, but it's like, holy shit, I would want to kind of see something. I don't have any reasonable expectation to think that he's going to get magically get more work, like a ton of work in the near future. I think it's going to have to be like a progression almost.
Well, in the same vein, Flowers had seen like double digit targets the first 2 games, and then in week 3 he had 4 targets. So
Mhm.
I really do think that part of it is just the nature of this game where like everything was
Mhm.
going right in the run game. Lamar had 14 rush attempts, Henry had 25, even Justice Hill had another 5 as well. So
Mhm.
I really just don't think they had to pass at all.
That's fair.
But no, you're not happy with Andrews. Would you still rather have Andrews than Likely? They both had 1 target in this game.
I'm not thrilled with either of them. I feel
Right.
like if you went and blew most of your fab on Likely, you're probably pretty upset right about now.
But if you
Uh,
had to start one Baltimore
I
Ravens tight end, who would it be?
God, I mean, I guess I'd probably start Mark Andrews
I would
just
still
because of the
start Mark
name,
Andrews.
just because of the name value. But
I think
man,
his
you're
role in the
not
red zone will come back and eventually.
for
He had
sure.
historically been scoring like 7 touchdowns every season for the last like four
Yeah,
years. So hoping
yeah.
for the best, but
But
I'd be
God, you
worried.
can't feel good about it.
No, you can't feel good at all. But very, very excited about Jake Ferguson this season.
Hmm.
Um, as someone who made
That's a
him
good
my
one.
like, I think my top 3 most drafted tight ends in the summer were Tyler Conklin, Jake Ferguson, and Pat Fryermuth.
Nice.
Fryermuth
Yeah,
not the best
working out.
call, but Conklin
Yeah,
excited there. Ferguson
Conklin's
to the
pretty
moon,
good.
baby.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, massive, massive.
That's cool. Um, 3 more games: the Rams
Hmm.
and Niners.
Yeah, I mean, from the Rams side, Kyron Williams. Well, the big thing from this, the Rams are still viable.
Yeah,
My word, if the Rams lost this game, they go 0-3, and then they might decide, hey, let maybe we slow play Puka and Cup coming back. and that just sucks for everybody.
Yeah, but
So I don't think that's going to happen now because they won this game. So that's massive for the Rams as a team. We could just breeze by the receivers. I don't think any of them are startable.
it's so
I
risky.
don't.
Like maybe one
They're
blows
just
up, but it'll probably pivot off
yeah.
Tutu Atwell next week. It'll probably be Jordan Whittington soon, and
I wouldn't trust a single
no,
one of them.
you
I don't
can't.
think you should. Kyron Williams looks absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. Only
Like completely
3.7 yards per
matchup proof.
carry, but 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You'll
No, like
take it
so
any
he's a
day.
must-start player still, even if you were nervous about him before, which I for sure was.
Same. I ranked him
Blake
like
Corum, who
way
like
too low.
Blake Corum, absolutely who. I thought he was going to matter more than he has turned out to.
That is shocking that Corum
Um,
has like in week 2 he had some touches. This week in week 1 he's had nothing.
None. So I don't know what's going on there. He's apparently not even a concern at all.
Nope.
If you took Kyron in round three of best ball, good for you. You're printing money.
No, now I feel like that pick was salvaged. A week ago I was terrified about it.
100%. Yeah. So that, I mean, and that's kind of it on the Rams. Like, good. I mean, McVay is still, I think, a top three coach in the NFL. So you always have that going for you.
Yeah.
And Stafford's an above average quarterback.
Such an impressive
Over.
win.
Yeah. Massive.
Did the Niners just like completely fall apart, or like did was it the mistakes by Purdy? He had a lost fumble in this one, and then they missed a
Well,
long field goal in the late
yeah.
fourth quarter that really set up the Rams in a good spot.
Yeah, they just kind of clawed back and really, really took it from him. I like I think that game, like that one. Have you seen that graphic where it's like the Niners for I think like 98% of the game were projected to win, and it was all the way up until the end where it just swung in
Yeah.
favor of the Rams. Like just absolute amazing comeback.
Crazy that both of these teams are 1-2 to start the season.
Yeah,
Like I don't think anyone would have projected that.
for sure. And then yeah, with the Niners, I mean, it's just so many injuries, man. Like it
It's
really, really
really
is.
adding up.
It's hard. Like when you have like their entire model is what if we have a rookie quarterback who maybe he's good, but he's at least average. And we surround him with like an Avengers style cast of players who are all elite at their position. It's like, well, if those people are hurt and out, then it's a little harder. Now, granted, Purdy did great. Like he really had an awesome game
Purdy
for
has
sure.
impressed me this season. Like the
Yeah.
situation for him is not ideal at all. Like after the weird
hmm
off season, I know Trent Williams like did play, but
hmm
it wasn't like the right chemistry. And like the O line is something that needs chemistry, and for them to practice all off
Yeah.
season without Trent Williams is like a big deal. And
I know he
Purdy,
left for a lot of this game. I think he had like
he
cramps or
did.
something.
Yeah, he left like I think twice. He left, he came back. I think he left again.
Yeah.
But Purdy has played really well. He also had 41 rushing yards in this game, so really
Mhm.
getting it done almost all by himself. It was him and Juwan Jennings in this game, and almost
Yeah.
nothing else from anyone
I
other
was
than
like
like
I
Mason a
like
little
all
bit.
fairness to Ayuk, it hasn't panned out yet. He's close, man. Like he's really close. The targets are there. He's had a couple near catches that
Yeah, but
really
until they hit,
would
it's
have
like you're you're
like if he
you're
had caught
pissed
that
if you
touchdown
drafted
in week
Ayuk.
one, if he caught the touchdown in week one, the story about Ayuk changes a lot. He had a couple real close catches this past
But he
game. So
hasn't came down with him, man. As someone who is like
yeah,
really on board with Ayuk, I have been really fucking disappointed.
I
I
think you just got to keep riding the hot hand. Like you just have to. Like
but
he's gonna hit.
that's the thing. His hand is not hot. His hand
You got to ride the cold
is
hand.
been frozen solid, and it's been thawing at a rate very slowly. It's like he went to Greenland because he thought that Iceland was the place to
Listen,
fear, and like,
the truth is, Jawan Jennings is not the better receiver.
but
He just
Ayuk
isn't.
sucks right now, bro. Ayuk fucking
Yeah,
sucks.
he'll rebound for sure. I mean, what was it? Jawan Jennings scored yesterday more fantasy points than he did all last season combined, or like three. It was like basically the same. Like this is not who he is. It just isn't. You have three pass catchers out for San Francisco, and then I'm sure if you go and look, I'm guessing the Rams just bracketed Ayuk because they're like, all right, he's your only guy, and maybe he just wasn't in a position to overcome that, but. He's close. It's all there. which you have to feel good about. He's kind of like Garrett Wilson in that regard, where you're just like, man, it should work and it will work, but it's not clicking.
I think maybe because I faced you and you had Jennings go off in this game, maybe that's why I'm like so extra disappointed in
Yeah.
Ayuk right now. But like, I was so pissed watching this game as
Hmm.
Jennings just went off, bro. Like,
Yeah.
such a good game from Juwan Jennings. Kind of
Oh
out of
yeah.
nowhere. Like, yeah, he
Out of
dominated in the
nowhere.
Super Bowl, but like, he has not
He's
been part of
never
this
done anything
offense.
like this. Yeah. This is hands down like
I knew he'd be a good play once Kittle
what
got ruled out, and it was like, okay, well, they need somebody else, so he's a legit option. But this was
I did see
just
something where it was
so
like the Jawan
impressive.
Jennings game that he had today is better than any game Debo, Kittle, or Ayuk have ever had in their careers, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that's we'll see how long it lasts, but I think
I
and
maybe not even next week.
I
Like
know
I'm
I think you're
starting.
starting Jennings for sure against the Patriots. Like they're gonna
If
own them.
Debo's out for sure, I'm probably starting him. But then like there's a like 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, there's a chance he's just on the waiver wire again. And
It's possible, but if Ayuk continues to slump, like maybe not. Maybe Jennings could be the waiver wire pickup that wins you the league. Like
Mhm.
imagine if this year, like you win your championship, and the two Niners that lead you to it are Jordan Mason and Juwan Jennings.
I'd be
That'd
insane.
be
Just
so
absolutely
annoying.
bananas
If you
development.
have them, you're ecstatic, but that'd be so fucking annoying. If let's say you like drafted a Niner stack with everybody else,
Oh, I
and
know. Like
somebody
you
else picked them up off
see
the waiver
Kittle
wire.
Debo and it just gets you nothing.
Yeah. So,
Man.
congrats to Juwan Jennings. I am pissed about Ayuk. I think maybe he bounces back, but maybe the Patriots are so like butthurt about him,
Mm,
declining the trade, they shut him down as well.
yeah.
I'd be a little worried about Ayuk. I am worried about Ayuk. Really
Mm.
hoping he turns it around. Um,
I'll trade you Juwan for him.
no, I'm not gonna go that far, but
Uh,
I might regret that statement. Give it 4 weeks, man. Give it
that
two,
could be
three
a fun.
weeks.
There's a chance that's a fun clip a couple
Yeah.
weeks from now.
Board bet? You wanna bet on it? Okay. Let
My bets are looking garbage right now.
Oh, I mean, you
The two we made, I'm just saying I took the under on the Green Bay Packers. That's looking bad. And I took Ken Walker over Saquon.
you're
That's
hoping
looking
Walker stays hurt so that the bet is
I know.
void.
Yes. Honestly, yes. I'm hoping for an injury either to Saquon or just that Walker is out for the season and the bet is void.
Well, good luck. Good luck with that. If Saquon misses 2 games and Walker comes back next week, it's dead even. It'll
I
work out.
know.
But two more games. We're almost done. The Lions take on the Cardinals, and the Lions win 20-13.
Mhm.
I'm not convinced that their offense is like effective this year. Like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
winning. I mean, they lost to Tampa, but they have yet to score more than 20 points in regulation. And like
Hmm.
Goff has been turning it over. Another interception this week, two
Yeah.
last week, and yeah, man, I just don't like fully trust the Lions as much as I did last season. They're a good team. They're gonna make the playoffs, but I don't think they're like as elite as I pictured them being entering the season.
Yeah. I do think Laporte is being like making a great case for biggest bust in fantasy. Like
There's a
it's
lot of bad tight ends. I don't know about that. There's
But
some
he was the first. He was tight end one
right.
and was taken in like the third, fourth round.
Yeah,
So that's why I think he's making a great case for like the biggest
he's
bust.
in the conversation.
Because he was the unanimous tight end one basically, and he's just not that. And I don't know how he's gonna become that. Even without the injury, it's like there's just too many people, and they don't need him to get the ball. And Jamison Williams is having a breakout, seemingly at his expense. Like I know
Despite a
Jameson
terrible
Williams
game from JMO, but
he had a
yeah.
terrible game. This is kind of who he's boom bust as well, but like man, he can go off and like they're getting him involved. He has a role in the offense. This just you have to know this is like in the range of outcomes, I guess. I still think he's great, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd be worried about Laporta. I mean, you took Kelsey like just a few picks after him, and Kelsey's been ass as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the bust, but he's definitely one of the busts for sure.
Mhm.
And if he continues to have some injury concerns, then he might be out for a while. He came back into this game and then he exited a second time.
Mhm.
I'm not totally sure what his situation is for next week,
Mhm.
but St. Brown comes back 7 for 75 in the touchdown. He's still great. They ran it a ton in this one. A total of 43 rush attempts, 39 combined between Montgomery and Gibbs.
New sleeper notification just came out that CMC is seeing an injury specialist in Germany. You hate to see that.
Not great.
When you need to go to Germany because of an injury you have, that's not great. That's like when Cup went to go see like the hamstring specialist, and you're like, "Oof,
Yeah, not the
this is
best.
not great."
I think you get more than 4 games out of Mason while McCaffrey's on
He
IR.
so far is looking like the winner, like the league winner for sure, like 100%.
Yeah. Back to Lions though. How much do you trust Montgomery? Like, is Montgomery like a top 12 running back?
I trust him a ton. I think he's just like he has such a role in this offense. He does exactly what they want him to do, and he fits their offensive identity a ton. Like I think as long as he's healthy, I think he's a lineup lock. I think he's going to be a very great value in drafts, just like he was last year. Like I think if you did zero RB teams in best ball where he was your RB1, you're probably pretty happy with how that's worked out so far. He's given you such a safe floor. Touchdowns are always on the board. And he, again, just has a very clear role in this offense. Even if you're a Jahmyr Gibbs fan, you got to kind of acknowledge, okay, Montgomery really is doing his job well and filling in for what they really want him to do. And that's kind of why I was nervous to take Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round, knowing that, oh, he has a backfield competitor that has a clear role that they want to use him in. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
Gibbs is a little disappointing because of Montgomery's role. It's funny to mention like at our subscriber league auction, we were all heavily criticizing pasture interference for their zero RB strategy, and they
mhm,
wound out with Dave Montgomery as the
mhm,
RB1, and like that looks like such a wise
yeah.
plan overall. But
100%. Didn't they pay a lot? I mean, he's totally worth it, but I remember they kind of
he got him for
paid a
less than
lot.
20. Like it was like
Yeah.
a very reasonable price
Yeah.
to spend. So
Yeah. Good for
yeah,
them. Really,
good for
really
him.
cleaned up.
So yeah, a little worried about Laporta. Not panicking on JMO just yet, but worth
No.
noting the risk is still back.
Mhm.
Goff, not phenomenal, but getting the job done, and they are winning decently. But
Yep.
Cardinals, their offense was limited. Maybe how early did McBride leave with the concussion symptoms? Do you know? I feel like it was like the third quarter.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think the Lions just have a very good run defense, and so they were really able to just kind of shut James Conner down for
Yeah,
the
he
most
was
part.
terrible.
And then if you can't run the ball, you're really put in a tricky position. Like Harrison got you there, but again, he's getting there on like touchdowns. My biggest critique of Harrison again this game is they really just kind of used him on the outside almost exclusively, just like they did in game one. I'd much rather than be more creative with him because that's going to get him a lot more targets. So if he is just going to be this outside receiver, things like game one are certainly in the cards. He got lucky I mean, I say lucky, like he scored this week, so he got you there with that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go forward if McBride is going to miss some time.
Well, he did get 11 targets, so they are funneling him some volume,
Mhm.
and they also get the Commanders next week. So I think he's going to
Mhm.
heavily bounce back.
Yeah, that's fair. So
He'll
that's
be great
never
next
mind
week.
then.
But
I
yeah,
take it all back. He's going to do great.
James Conner did look terrible. 9 for 17, one catch for 8 yards. Connor was atrocious, so that's weird. But
Mhm.
it is the Lions' run defense, not the best spot to be in.
Mhm.
I still trust Kyler in my lineup every week. I'm not worried about that. Not too many takeaways, but
For sure.
we mentioned this. You took the Seahawks as well as I did to beat the Lions next week.
Mhm.
So a little bit of concern on the Lions offense overall. And then
A little
last
bit.
game, Chiefs versus Falcons.
Yeah, is Rashay Rice a top five wide receiver for you?
I
He is
as
for
Tyreek
me.
Hill
I don't see how he's
plummets,
not.
I think so. As Tyreek
Because like,
Hill
okay, let's
moves down,
yeah, CD, Justin Jefferson, St. Brown.
I mean, we're gonna
He's
find
our
out what
worst.
Jamar Chase does tonight. But if he
But
plays
then say
poorly,
Jamar Chase goes off, and
okay. So we
even if he
clearly
goes
have.
off, let's say he takes the fourth spot.
Sorry, we're just like talking over each other. You mentioned CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Amon Ra. Those are clearly like
No worries.
three you'd want more. Then I think you'd
Uh,
still want Nico Collins, but I think Nico, Rashee Rice, and Jamar Chase are in that little trio for
yeah.
fourth and fifth and sixth.
See, for me, I think at this point, Rice has moved to get ahead of Nico for me. And I feel that way because in the one league where I drafted Nico in the third, I kind of wish I had taken Rice there instead. Like he's way more reliable and consistent. Like especially in PPR, like he is the new Kelsey. It's exactly what Mahomes did with Kelsey for all those years. It's just those over the middle intermediate stuff, and he's really good at it.
14 targets
So
is hard to ignore.
he's for sure top five for me. He's 100% like
I don't think
around
I'd rank
one.
him lower than six. So yeah,
Yeah,
but maybe it's because I have Nico
insane.
Collins. I'm a little more biased.
I get it,
I'd rather have
but
Nico. But yeah, really good option. The run game
it,
was effective. Carson
do you
Steele.
think? Don't you think Mahomes looks bad?
He's not great.
I think he's having a bad year. Like he just looks bad. He really doesn't look like the Patrick Mahomes of old. Like it looks like they're winning these games, but it's really coming down to the wire. And like, I don't know. I think he just looks bad.
From what you expect from him, he's not living up to expectation. But he didn't take a sack in
Sure.
this game. He still scrambles every now and then.
Mhm.
Um, like he doesn't make that second mistake. Like I guess
Mhm.
last week he did throw for two interceptions, but this week he had one, and he still finds a way. Like he's getting Juju Smith-Schuster involved.
Mhm.
Like he doesn't even have
Yeah.
Pacheco in this game. Like he's compensating for a lot of like problems that they have, and the fact that
Mhm.
Kelsey is like not a complete non-factor, but like looks washed, I think is a huge
He
reason
looks
why.
slower. Like
Um,
I went back and watched like tape from the Super Bowl when they played Tom Brady and the Bucs, and like Kelsey there looks unstoppable. He looks just like an absolute unit who is fast and agile and catches everything, gets open, and he just doesn't look like that as much
no,
now.
no,
So
he's we're gonna see what he does against the Chargers because he normally owns that matchup. But
yeah,
if he does not go off against the Chargers next week, then it's like official. Like Kelsey
yeah,
is not the same player.
yeah.
Um,
Worthy you like to see a variety of routes, like it wasn't just go routes for him this time, so that was nice.
he's just not getting enough volume though.
He's just not getting enough volume. I was impressed with Carson Steele, like you
Yeah,
like to
me
see the
too.
volume that he had. But P Ryan's for sure going to play and catch passes. So maybe in a PPR league, you want him. I have no
I
idea.
still kind of believe that when CEH gets healthy, that he'll be a factor. And then they had Kareem Hunt on the practice squad. Like I think this will be a true
but like
committee.
I don't know when CEH is coming back because like his problem is like PTSD from like a robbery that happened 7 years ago or something like that. And it's like I don't think a couple weeks sitting gets you over that. Like he might miss a lot of time is my concern.
But at the same time, like I don't want to sound like rude here, but like you can't you get over that for 3 hours on Sunday? You know what I mean? Like that can't be the
I know
only thing.
for
Like
sure.
he's played for the last like 4 years. Like I know he's
Yeah,
not
I
been
guess
great for 4 years, but
he
like
has not been great for 4 years for
all of a
sure.
sudden, like okay, I don't know the whole situation of the PTSD, but I I still think he might be one of their more talented running backs until Pacheco comes back. That I just bring him up
Yeah.
as like I don't think you
Um,
really trust a true workhorse in the Chiefs
yeah,
backfield, especially when Kareem Hunt is a factor as well.
I agree.
Um,
Like I think they just have so many different like they're using a lot of tight ends. They're like they just have a lot of people going on. And like again, outside of Rashi Rice, it's hard to trust anybody.
yeah, you Rasheed is a lineup lock. Even Kelsey is a little bit of a concern, and then
I do
even
not have
Mahomes is not
someone.
like a guaranteed top 10 quarterback right now. Like,
I don't know. The dude could barely get like he struggles to get over 20 points. Like I have him in a league and he's so fucking frustrating.
granted, a
It's
lot of
wild.
quarterbacks have struggled to do that, but
That's true.
he's not
That's
giving you
very
any
true.
rush, like any like elite rushing value, and that's where
Mhm.
it's like, I'm
Yeah.
worried about the turnovers, but it could be worse. It could be worse. I'll put it that
Mhm.
way. Um, you just expected him to be top five, and he's not.
100%.
Okay, that's it for the games we've seen. Um,
Falcons.
oh right, Falcons. We
Yeah.
almost didn't talk about the Falcons. Go ahead.
Falcons, I mean, they for sure blew that game. Like just from a football standpoint, they should have won that
They
game.
could
Like
have
I know there
won.
was a missed call that the refs had, the pass interference on Pitts. But
Surprise, surprise! A call goes in favor of
surprise,
Kansas
surprise,
City.
but they also shit the like they had a shot to go down and do a drive, and that outside pitch or whatever they did to Bijan on fourth down is like go up the fucking middle. What are you doing? Like, and I think like the other problem with it was the Chiefs knew Cousins isn't doing a QB sneak, so we know it's not going to him, so we don't have to like plug up the middle. Like that type of play works if the defense thinks you're going to do a QB sneak, and they knew that they weren't. So that's my rant about the Falcons throwing that game away.
I think their offense is never gonna like really get going until they figure out how to use Kyle Pitts properly. And like this was the
Hmm.
matchup to do it. Like the Chiefs had been
Yeah.
atrociously bad against Mike Gesicki, Isaiah Likely. Like
Hmm.
you think that Pitts is a better athlete, right? Like he's
They're
supposed to
scheming
be.
up
He's
so
supposed to
many
be.
plays. They are scheming up so many plays where Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod are the first read, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? That you are not like that. You are saying we are going to prioritize getting these people the ball. Like I'm sorry, Ray McLeod. I'm sure you're a great guy. What the fuck? Like that is not an elite weapon that you need to be prioritizing.
It's kind of mind boggling. Maybe it's just Cousins doesn't trust Pitts. Like maybe Pitts has not done anything to be trustworthy yet, but like that's
No
what's holding them
idea.
back. Like they need Pitts to be a real deal factor, and he's just not. Like
Hmm.
yeah, he had a 50-yard
Yeah,
catch in this game, but otherwise pretty much nothing. And
nothing.
you can't bet on that every single week. So Pitts is
He's
like
gotten very
falling into
lucky.
fantasy production, but it's not one that I feel like safe with. It's just
Mhm.
every other tight end usually sucks.
Yep. Yeah, he's like the tight end eight, and he feels like he just shouldn't be
No,
six or eight. And it's like, I don't believe that.
no. He was like the only one to score a touchdown week one, and then he's gotten
Yeah.
lucky.
Good to
Just
see London doing better. Like he had a lot of really solid catches where he's really using his like 6'4" frame to like box out cornerbacks and make some great catches.
I'm
So
really encouraged with London because this was not a good matchup at all, and
mhm.
he looked pretty solid. And then we, him and Mooney are the clear like options for them, and it doesn't seem to
Mhm.
be changing anytime soon. So I would be trying to buy London. I'd be trying to sell Pitts.
Yeah.
Bijan was
Would you
bad.
rather have Pitts or Kelsey?
Would I rather have Pitts or Kelsey? Oh God.
Mhm. That's the one where I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Like, but you know what I mean? But that's the point. The
Yeah,
point is, it's
it's a
like,
very
yeah, would
difficult
you
thing
rather
to
have
answer. I think I'd
McBride?
still
Would you
go
rather have
Kelsey.
McBride? Of course. Would you rather have Bowers? Of course. Would you rather have Laporta? Probably, but it's not like as definitive as it was two
No.
weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like it's just getting really hard to be like, this is who I'd rather have.
Give me Bowers and
Kincaid,
Ferguson for sure. I think I'd rather go Kelsey over Pitts.
Ferguson
Just
for sure. I agree with that.
I don't feel great about it, but I think I'd rather have Kelsey.
Hmm.
But you make a very good point there. Really good question. Let us know in the
It's just
comment section what you guys think. But
it's hard. Tight end is bleak. Tight end's way
tight
bleaker
end's
than I thought
terrible.
it would be.
Are you worried about Bijan at all? 16 for 31 and a touchdown, or I'm not.
I'm not worried about him at all. I would still take, I think Brees over Bijan still seems like the correct call,
Yeah.
at least at this point. He looks great. Like he really does. Like you watch him run and you're like, all right, you're a great athlete. And he still gets looks in the passing game.
Hmm.
So I'm not super worried about Bijan.
Yeah, he'll figure it out.
Mhm.
Just before we sign off, who do you think wins the Jags Bills game?
Bills, I think the Jags are a dumpster fire, and I think Doug Peterson's going to get fired this season for sure.
Maybe, yeah. Betting against
That's
the
I think
Bills feels unwise, but Jags might get really desperate real soon.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, I'd pick the Bills for sure. And then the other one is Bengals Commanders.
yeah,
Is that what it is?
yeah,
I think it's a get right game for the Bengals,
yeah.
personally. But
No, I agree with you there. Bills win, Bengals win. Bengals should win by a lot. The Bills
yeah,
either like completely blow them out or it's like a really close game because the Jags have like played them really tough. But in
yeah,
Buffalo, I'll still trust Josh Allen. Anyways,
yeah.
it's been fun, man. I appreciate it. And we did trim down some time off
We're
the
getting
clock.
better.
Yeah,
We're getting better every single time.
getting better. But
Have it down to a crisp 25 minutes by week 17.
we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I get 90 points from James Cook tonight. Hopefully, you get 30 points from Chase Brown tonight, and
I
we
know.
win and flip the script on the matchups that we need.
Honestly, I will take that. I will take that deal. If that deal was offered, I would take that. I would love to not be 0 and 3.
Well, good luck, man.
Oh shoot. Good luck, man.
Thanks for the chat. I'll see you next
Of
time.
course. All right. See you
Bye,
later.
everyone.